Bought another CBD bath bomb.
I know it's not popular to like those live work.
I know, but I love them.
Can't fucking help it. Can't fucking help it.
I love a good mall.
I love a bougie mall. I mean, it's basically a bougie hipster mall.
Yeah.
It's a bougie hipster mall. And you know what?
I love it.
I am eating it up.
I'm sorry, they have a witch shop in the mall now.
I'm literally
I
eating
love
it up. Because I'm eating it right now.
They always did. It's called Hot Topic.
That's true. They did. You are so right. You are so right. I've been shopping at the witch store my entire life.
Been at the witch store.
You are
didn't
so
even
right.
know
I've
it.
been there and I didn't even know.
Welcome to the Feminine Mistake Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Nicole, and today I'm joined by
Hillary.
Sarah.
And Brandon.
Today's episode is our monthly Lady Bits episode. This, of course, is our wild card episode where we discuss a topic on women in film with our special guest. We've got several hot topics to discuss this week, so let's get into it.
Oh, you men are all alike. 7 or 8 quick ones and you're off with the boys to boast and brag. You better keep your mouth shut.
Welcome to Lady Bits. This is our monthly. So we're going to do it once a month. It's our biannually, quarterly. This is the episode that we do every month. It's sort of a wild card episode where we talk about something related to women in film or something we've watched, or if somebody's been on a set they want to talk about. I know some people have been working on sets recently. So you can. This is an episode where we can kind of talk about just about anything related to film, entertainment, women in film and entertainment. I feel like we have something we did want to talk about, but before we get to that, I guess I felt like we should mention Asia Argento.
Yeah.
Who is the daughter of Dario Argento, the writer and director of the film that we covered this month, Suspiria. So do you guys? It seems like you know a little bit about what's going on with Asia.
Yeah, she was one of the first people in the Me Too movement to accuse Harvey Weinstein.
Correct.
And she recently was accused herself of sexual assault of a 17-year-old actor that she had acted with in several films, dating back to when he was like 13, 14 years
7.
old. Something. Okay,
She met him when he was 7. He played her son in a film.
Yes.
And then so all this came out pretty recently. She had been a very vocal part of the Me Too movement. She gave a very stirring speech at Cannes about how there were still many accusers out there that were not being brought to justice. So the timeline's a little fuzzy, but basically, the boy says that she gave him alcohol and did some stuff to him that he didn't want done to him, and she denied it. And then this photo came out. He was like a boy? He was 17.
He was 17.
He was 17. Okay. Yeah, but she was 37. She had known him since he was 7. So there's the whole grooming aspect. Yeah. So it's like, yeah. And she had paid her and Anthony Bourdain had, because she was Anthony Bourdain's girlfriend up until the point that he had recently died, and they had paid him a settlement, this boy.
Yeah.
And
including it, like,
no, she had. It was Asia says it was his idea.
People have alluded to saying that it was Anthony Bourdain's idea to pay him off
to keep him quiet. She denied any sexual relationship with him. A photo came out of them together with her, and she was topless in the photo, I guess.
Yeah, and I think they were
he had his shirt off. They were in bed. They were in
bed together.
Yeah.
And
how does this photo exist?
I think she took it, and somebody had this photo somehow. Maybe he had it. Somebody sent it to somebody. I don't know. Also, she messaged somebody and apparently admitted to the whole thing. In the message, it was a private message with somebody else, and that person came forward and was like, hey, she did it. She is admitting it. Yeah. And Rose McGowan came out and was like, wrote her an open letter and was like, hey, listen, what happened to you with Harvey was wrong, but what you did was wrong, and you should be the person you wish Harvey could be.
Yeah.
And and now I believe last I heard Asia's suing Rose McGowan. I think that's the last thing that I heard.
Like defamation of character, something for doing that.
Anyway, so I thought we should mention it because we
Yeah.
can't not. I feel like we can't talk about this movie and this director without bringing up this very public topic that, at least of the time of this recording, is a hot button issue.
I didn't realize that about Rose McGowan, that she had said that. Because what I was thinking in my head,
Well, they've been
kind of
working
what
very
this,
closely together.
and part of what it is like you
this
said,
movement.
it doesn't. Okay, allegedly, if she did, or it doesn't change the fact that she was, assaulted.
It
by her.
doesn't, right.
And that's the one point that immediately, someone sees and says, "Oh, someone who started the Me Too movement. Guess what? She did this too." And it, someone could immediately look into that and go, "Oh, it discredits the whole thing." And you have to go,
Right.
You have to look at it separately and say, "Okay, this person she might have done this, she might have not." You're going to look into that, but it doesn't change the fact that
what was done
what
to her
happened to
still
her
happened.
still happened.
Yeah.
And that abuse is cyclical, and often.
And you usually people who are abusers have been abused before.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, just wanted to bring that up
I don't
because
know.
it's happening.
Well, and I think also along this lines, something that just came out like yesterday as of this recording,
As of the September
was
recording.
the Millie Bobby Brown and Drake
Oh
thing
fuck!
as well.
I can't even.
Well, I don't know. I
can't
haven't
even.
heard
Something
of
about that, but I don't know what it.
What is
So,
that?
so
I didn't
Millie
even wanna
Bobby
read
Brown.
it.
Millie Bobby Brown is 14 years old. She's an actress in Stranger Things,
Yep.
and she recently said
Stranger
in an
Things,
interview,
Godzilla.
Yeah, she recently said in an interview that she's very close friends with Drake, and they text a lot about dating and boys,
Gross.
and that they're friends.
Gross.
And it just sort of kind of alludes to that whole thing of grooming. And then I think Drake has also in the past dated young women or waited until they have just been like 18. I can't remember the names, but when I was reading an article about it, it was like he has sort of done this before with like waiting until a girl is 18 to announce that they're in a relationship. And it's just another thing with Millie Bobby
people
Brown
have
being so young.
sexualized Millie Bobby Brown in the press before,
So much.
even at 12, 13 when she first started the show.
Yeah.
It's gross.
I mean,
She's
she
a
had to
very
quit Twitter
talented. She's
or
an incredibly
Instagram.
talented actress and a young lady that people need to step the fuck off. She
Yeah.
is a child.
Yeah.
It upsets me. Yeah, I actually saw a post on Facebook that was a list of all the men, of not all the men in history. That'd be fucking way too long.
It's way too long for Facebook.
But many famous men who had dated children, married children, like
Yeah.
Jerry Lee Lewis, of course, comes to mind.
and
then
Jerry Seinfeld is on that list.
Like Seinfeld, you know, who was dating the young girl,
17-year-old, I believe,
17-year-old,
that he
yeah.
met, like in Central Park or something. That's what I read.
and
It's like Woody Allen.
R.
in that.
Kelly,
Yes,
Woody
Woody
Allen,
Allen.
who married his adopted daughter.
Yeah, R. Kelly, who married Aaliyah, when
who
she-
was
yeah.
like
she was
12
14 when they met,
yeah.
or like 12 or 13.
and he
yeah,
helped
she was,
produce
like,
her
young.
album. Yeah, and there was a whole list of young ladies that
Mm-hmm.
had been groomed for.
That's what's disgusting about the whole thing. You know,
Yeah.
not that any of it.
And at
is
one
not
point it was
disgusting, but the fact that
acceptable. At
you're,
one
like,
point it was
grooming
kind of
someone and
acceptable.
then
I
you're
mean,
okay. It's like,
Yeah.
Jerry Lee Lewis, God, and I can go on down a whole nother rabbit hole with that guy because, of course, you know, we're all several of us here are murderinos and we belong to these my favorite murder pages and true crime pages, and there's a whole rabbit hole with him and one of his ex-wives
Yep.
that he definitely killed.
Yeah.
And I know that he definitely found himself in some trouble for marrying his 14-year-old cousin. But he didn't go to jail
Nope.
for that because it was perfectly legal at the time.
It still is legal in a lot of states. Your parents can agree to let you marry
Yeah.
someone
Yeah.
who's an adult. It's
Yeah.
actually something that we should probably all be fighting to stop
Oh my God.
Yeah.
because
called
it's in
child marriage.
Yeah, and a lot of not a lot of certain religions who have very strict codes. Like if a young girl is raped and becomes pregnant, her parents will basically just sign over a marriage certificate to the man that raped
Gross.
her because having a child out of wedlock is a sin.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's a big problem.
Gross.
Yeah,
Yay.
we basically still sell children in our country. Womp womp. Welcome to my comedy
Welcome
podcast.
to my comedy podcast. So, who wants to talk about the series Love? That was the other thing that I wanted. This seems like let's slide in there like Bear on Asphalt. It's okay. It's okay. We can talk generally about the trope though.
Okay.
There's a trope here that we can talk generally about.
Okay.
So let's awkwardly transition as awkwardly as possible from that incredibly serious conversation to a silly Judd Apatow show.
It's the Judd Apatow one.
Yes.
Okay.
So you know already what this trope is then.
I think so, yeah. But I like Judd Apatow, so
I do
give
too.
it a shot.
Well, here's the thing. So I started listening to a podcast called In Voorhees We Trust with Gorley and Rust, which is a podcast about the Friday the 13th movies. One of the hosts is Matt Gorley, who is one of my favorite podcasters. He does another podcast called I Was There Too, where he interviews people in bit parts in other movies.
Nice. Cool.
And he's super funny. And he also did a whole show called Super Ego, which is like improvised sketch comedy on a podcast with like Paul F. Tompkins. Anyway, he's a great podcaster. I adore him. And I fucking love slasher movies. So I started listening to this podcast and I didn't know Paul Rust at all. I was like, who is this Paul Rust guy? And he on the show is so funny and nerdy. And they're both the nerdiest, most adorable nerds I've ever heard in my life. And so I was like, who's this Paul Rust guy? So I looked him up and I was like, oh, he's on the show Love on Netflix. And then I remembered Sarah telling me that she didn't like that show. And so I was like, I'll watch it. Let's talk about it. And so I think there are reasons why you didn't like the show. I don't want to say anything about what.
What's it about?
Okay, here's the basic idea. So Paul Rust plays this nerdy, geeky guy who is in a long-term relationship with his girlfriend. They break up, and then he has a chance encounter with this like wild, doing lots of drugs, crazy woman played by what the fuck's her name? She was on Community.
Is it Gillian? No.
Yes.
Gillian Jacobs.
Gillian Jacobs.
Yes.
She is like this wild, like drugs, smoking. Her boyfriend is this coked out, crazy, pathetic monster, and like they break up, and then they have this chance encounter. I only watched the first 2 episodes.
Oh, is this a Netflix show that's been on
Yes.
for a while?
Yes, it's in its third
Oh,
season.
it's been on for a while. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I've watched this.
Okay, and so it's nerdy guy. Basically, the trope is, and this is like almost the plot of every Judd Apatow movie: nerdy guy gets unattainable hot girl.
Wow.
That's the trope that we're discussing today.
Yeah.
I'm so glad it happened for you, Judd Apatow.
It did happen for him.
It did happen for him.
It did. Leslie
It
Bean is
did.
gorgeous.
And he lives a very lovely life.
He has defended that trope. People have commented to him about that, and he was like, "Well, if it happened to me, it can happen to anyone."
So that's the trope we're talking about today. Sarah, so you watched Love. How many episodes did you watch?
I watched the whole first season.
And what, now I only watched 2 episodes, so be gentle with me because I actually want to keep watching it. So,
Okay.
What didn't you like about it generally?
It was basically that. It was not, it's like well written, it's funny, it's like well acted. I just hated the fact that I was like, where are the shows where the nerdy girl gets the unattainable hot guy? Because
nerdy girls are always like Zooey Deschanel, who's actually like hot. They just put glasses on her.
Yeah.
But see, you notice what they do is they have to make they make her hot.
They make her hot eventually. Yes.
Then it works out, and that's that trope.
But he is just. I'm not. The actor is adorable, and it's not like he's ugly. He's not.
But he's
ugly.
like a nerdy dude. He's nerdy.
Yeah. And I don't know.
What makes so I haven't seen it, but what essentially makes him or her, fall for him? Or
that's the thing, is it's not explained, and like all throughout the first
they
season,
just have
I
a
was,
connection.
Like,
at least they do in the first 2 episodes.
So there's nothing that they like have in common.
I think they have broken hearts in common.
Yeah.
Okay, but they don't like the
hearts.
same video game.
No, and like the weird thing is she doesn't even seem to like him that much. She just keeps him around.
I get that.
And
she seems kind of like a shitty person.
Yeah,
in the first
is.
2 episodes, in any case,
she is.
But I do feel sympathy for her. Like she's not so shitty that I'm like, I can't watch this person.
Yeah.
Like I do feel like sometimes you're in a place in your life where you're just kind of a shitty person, and you feel shitty on the inside, and so you're kind of shitty. Hillary's pointing to herself. I don't know what you're talking about, but
I've been saying this the whole time. Like, I get that. Yeah.
Yeah, I relate to that.
I relate
but
to
like
that.
she steals things and she
Yeah.
like, you know, I don't know. She just like seems like she's in a place, kind of a chaotic place in her life. She seems like she has trouble getting along with other people.
Seems so relatable.
Hillary, why aren't you watching the show?
I steal things. I
Actually, this
have
show is
trouble getting along with other
they
people.
the subtitle of this movie is Love, a Hillary or Heath unauthorized biography.
Just like I would have liked this show so much more if they had cast someone who looked like him, like as a girl,
get
like
that.
two people
well,
who
even the nerdy person they cast as his girlfriend was like still kind of hot.
yeah. And if you keep
Like, from an average-looking-
going, there's a second girl who is into him too, who's also unattainably hot and blonde. And
Okay.
so yeah,
It's like it sounds like you're describing Big Bang Theory too. You know?
Big
Yeah.
Bang
That's one thing
Theory.
where
Well,
it's like-
that's
You mean
yeah.
Kaylee Cuoco wouldn't really date him?
God
Yeah.
no, come on. Or Knocked Up.
Knocked Up,
There's
yeah.
this whole bunch of movies, many of them
Yeah.
by Judd Apatow.
yeah.
40-Year-Old Virgin, where he's literally like doesn't even know how to perform sexually and still
P.S.
gets the hot girl.
The actor who assaulted his girlfriend from that movie just got out of jail this week.
Oh God!
Which actor is that?
He had a bit part in 40-Year-Old Virgin,
Oh,
but he
God.
slit his girlfriend's throat.
Oh my God!
And he just got out of
Did she
jail.
die?
Nope, she
Okay.
lived. It was attempted murder charge. He had life in prison, and his sentence got commuted.
Gross.
That's our justice system at work.
Gross.
because he's a nice guy.
Yeah,
Well, of course, because he's a guy.
he had a low chance of reoffending.
It's just a woman, you guys. It's not
know.
like he killed another
It's
man.
only
didn't
a
kick a
woman that he
dog or
loved
anything.
with her children sleeping inside.
And I don't want to shit on
Oh, he
the
didn't like the
entire
children up?
show.
Yeah.
But like it just was like the straw that broke the camel's back for me. It was just like one more thing that was about this.
I only watched 2 episodes, but I kind of loved it. I mean, admittedly, I watched it last night at 1 a.m. and there were a few parts that I fell asleep, but I kind of loved it. I think I think my type is the nerd.
Mine too,
I think
but
that's
still
my
I'm
type.
not a rom-com person.
Well,
so I
no,
think I've seen a
it's
trailer
not
for it
a-
and
but
been like,
it's not. Well, I watched the trailer too, and I was like, this is
It's
not.
definitely not.
I was like,
not a rom com.
I was like,
Okay.
this does not look like a fucking movie for me. The show was much better than the trailer.
I think it's because I don't like Gillian Jacobs.
Maybe. Well, then if you don't,
Well,
then-
you're not gonna like her in this.
I like her as a person.
She smokes a lot of weed.
Oh, maybe I'll like her.
Yeah, you might.
But she's kind of mean.
Maybe I'll like her.
I think you should give it a try.
I'll
I
give it a
actually
shot.
really liked the
I'll give it a
first 2
shot.
episodes. I felt like they set up the characters really well, and like I immediately like knew what the situation was, and I thought Paul Rust as a character, like him, and he's also a writer and I think an executive producer on the show, and I thought he was adorable. I thought there was this scene. This scene that was like something I had not really seen in a movie before, where he was like he's really sad and he's living in this apartment that's really well known in LA. This takes place in LA and he's in this sad apartment, which I've heard people talk about that live in LA. I believe on My Favorite Murder, they've talked about this famous apartment complex, but he lives in this apartment complex that's kind of shitty, and there's a bunch of like students living there, and like they invite him to this party, and he's like, okay, I guess I'll go. And he goes and he's like wearing his backpack like he just left work, and like he ends up again, this is Sarah's looking at me, she's so mad, she knows what scene I'm talking about. So there's these girls, and they, after the party's over, they want to go, they sort of like tell him they want to go back to his place and they want to have a threesome, and he's like super awkward about it. And then as it's going on, it was actually really funny because he like didn't know what to do with his hands.
Oh, so
like,
he actually goes through with it.
Yeah, but
Okay.
like then as it's like right as it's about to happen, he's like, well, I'm gonna put on a condom. You guys, you can kiss each other or whatever. And they're like, we don't do that. And he's like, okay. And they're like, well, we're sisters. And he's like, ah! And he's like, get out of my house. It was hilarious.
No.
It was so funny.
No.
And they're like, don't judge us. And he's like the character is basically the consummate nice guy.
I reserve the right to judge you.
Like the character is the consummate nice. That's the thing is like she's kind of mean and selfish, and he's like so nice that it makes other people feel suffocated. And those are the characters.
The other thing is his character being so nice and then she being mean, and I was like, the
But
combination
that feels
of how
real
they
to me. That feels so real to me, though. I've known people like that. I don't know.
I
I
know.
get why
Why?
you don't like
What,
it.
to use the nice guy or the
Yeah.
Well, I love nice guys. I love nice guys.
too.
And I love nerds. And I've never been attracted to
I
the
love
bad
a good
boy.
nerd. I love nerds.
I always have
They're my
like funny
favorites.
nerds. That's always been my type. And like
Yeah.
I was really enjoying the show, and I what I like about her is like I feel like her character in another Jillian Jacobs' character in another show would have been Gillian, sorry, the manic pixie dream girl who like
Pixie Dream Girl.
improves the guy's life, and it seems like she's not going to improve his life at all, and I love it. And I also think that he might actually make her life better, at least. And by episode 2 I was like, he might make her a better person, which is something I don't usually see in those movies. It's usually the woman making the man's life, making him see the better person that he could be. And so by the end of episode 2, again, I only watched 2 episodes. I can't stay up all night, you guys. Okay. Like I wish I could, but I can't.
do anyway.
I do. I was actually, it was 3 a.m. when I finished the second episode. But I felt like by the end of the second episode, I was like, oh, this might be a switch on this where she's kind of a shitty person, and she makes him a little tougher, and maybe he makes her a little nicer. And so I left feeling like I want to see where this goes.
Okay.
My brother loves Love and has seen all the episodes, and I've walked in on a few ones in like the third season and stuff, and I'm not.
No, don't spoil it.
No.
But your point is perfectly valid. And I did start to think about, well, because there aren't a lot of stories where nerdy or schlubby girl gets hot guy like that. I wish there was more of that narrative. Like if there was, maybe we wouldn't feel so offended by this. The one that comes to mind is Lena Dunham's character on Girls.
Yes.
Because even though Adam is kind of a creep, he's
still
also
really
kind of
hot.
hot.
Yeah.
And like she's like, schlubby girl
All
that
of her
gets hot
boyfriends
guy.
are kind of
And
hot.
That's
that's
true.
Judd,
All of her
Judd
boyfriends
Apatow.
are hot.
That
That's
is
a Judd
Judd
Apatow
Apatow
show
too.
too.
Right. And so like I feel like that is an in for, and because that happens, we all kind of sometimes we're out of our league. You know what I mean? So I think if there's more narratives like that, then maybe
I think too this like it even like reflects in real life too, like because just this girl that I know through Atlanta Comedy too, she posted the other day this like this post about her and her boyfriend and talking about how hot her boyfriend is, and she's like, you rarely see someone with like the boyfriend is hotter, you know. And she was just like, but that's me, and I get to be with the hot guy. And she was like so excited about it. It was like such a great post because it was just very like empowering and very interesting, and she was like, it's just not something you see, so it's not something I thought I could have.
And we're always told the story like, well, men are more visual than women. They need to look at hotness, like they need that more.
I
than,
do too.
Than women,
I just have
women.
You just
I
wanna
have
look across and see a
realistic
big
but again,
standards.
like
slob
I
looking
don't
at you.
feel like
Hillary, go get me another beer.
I don't feel
All
like
I
they
want.
glamorized her character either. Like it wasn't like he saw her and then suddenly she was hot. Like she like didn't have enough money for a cup of coffee, and he was just like, I'll pay for your coffee. And it's just like him being a nice guy, and then he just kind of gets dragged along with her for the rest of the day. It was like he accidentally ended up hanging out with her. So again, like I don't feel like they were like hot girl. It's just like but yes, like
Now we just need to
objectively
show-
she's hot.
I'm wondering like what. There are probably so many women who could play that part, like not just Gillian Jacobs, like so many women, and I'm just
And she's great in it.
wondering.
I think
I
she's
know,
great.
but it's not a hard character to play, and so I'm just wondering.
I think it
like,
is. I think it
still-
is. I think it's hard to be a mess and people still care about you. I think we're unlikely to be sympathetic to somebody who's such a mess.
Right, but all I'm saying is that she's not the only woman in the world who could play that part.
Sure.
And so I'm wondering,
I think
is
you
there
say that about any
someone-
role.
Right, but is there someone who didn't look who like could play it as well as her, but didn't look as good as
I mean, that's the universal problem with being an actor as a woman, is it not? Like, unless you're writing the part, unless you're Lena Dunham and you're executive producer of the show.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like
It's
I really
gonna
want
go
to
to
see.
it's going to go to what's her face, Allison Williams
I'm
instead.
just wondering
You
if
know what I
there's
mean? Like,
I'm just wondering if there was anyone else for the role, but they were like,
I don't know.
she's not cute enough.
Well, and here's the thing too, is like I'd really love to see these shows too about like average looking women and like fat women even too, and like
Women
that's the
in
thing is I
different
think
body
that
types,
we have the opportunity for things like that sometimes. Like Lucy Exactly Nicole was that, it was the story of a fat woman living her life happily, joyously, having sex with really hot guys. Like every guy that she had sex with on that show was super fucking hot. And like it was that story, and I really enjoyed watching it. And then, well, now it's on Facebook, so it's not gone, but it's no longer on MTV.
But I bet there are a lot of
But that should be a
men out
network
there
show.
who saw or heard of that show and got just as mad as I'm getting about love.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
about
I'm sure
that.
there's just as many men who saw it too and saw their own lives reflected in it too, because I think that society also tells men that they are not allowed to like women who are larger, and that a
Yeah,
lot of men
exactly.
feel
Yeah.
oppressed by society in that way as well, because I do think a lot of men find large women attractive but are afraid to admit it.
Yeah, in Lindy West's book, she talks about how like
Yeah.
she always had guys who were interested in her, but they like kept it a secret because they
Right.
didn't want
Yeah.
anyone to
Oh,
know.
if you told
Right.
someone, as a guy, if you told someone that you were dating, it'd be like, oh, jokes and everything else. Even if they're
Exactly.
like, oh, we're just playing, whatever. It's just, it seems to be that trope. Now, granted, being a gay man, it's like, it's a little different.
I'm
'cause
sure
when
there's so
but
many
it's the
politics with that
but
too,
there's
though.
the same thing. There's always
Yeah.
like, who are you dating or what, there's always the image aspect of
Yeah.
it. But we were talking about, unless then it's always made funny if it's a woman, maybe not either as attractive, or it's like switch it,
If you're trading down.
if you're
Right.
or something like that. It's
Supposedly.
always like
Yeah.
it has to be then funny, or there's
Yeah.
a reason for it, or then she's
Right.
not happy with herself, so at the end she's gonna get healthy, or she's gonna and it's it's that same aspect, but you don't tell anyone, even if it's like, yeah, of course there are men that like big women. There's everyone that
Yeah.
likes everyone
Yeah, there is someone out there for everybody.
and you
Everybody's
shouldn't be
got their
shamed
own
about
stuff.
who it is,
I have to tell you, I always try to date someone of my equal level of hotness.
Oh, I always try to date above my status.
I've
Always.
dated up once, and he treated me like garbage, and so I'm sorry, but I feel like that rule stands. Like, I'm gonna stick with my equal level of hotness, because I like to be worshipped like the goddess that I am, and I don't
Fair.
like to feel like somebody feels like they're doing me a favor. And
I've still been
hashtag
worshipped.
not all hot men, but a lot of them think that they're doing you a favor. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying. The world has told them that
Yeah.
they are.
Yeah.
I don't know. Dated some really hot guys. They treated
Well,
me
I
fine.
didn't say they weren't hot. I just said they were my equal level of hotness.
No, they were definitely hotter than me. Like 100%. I was like, why? Cool.
It's because of the mermaid hair. That's going to wrap it up for today's Lady Bits. You have several opportunities this month to see our special guest Brandon Mitchell in the short horror film Feast. Feast is written and directed by former Feminine Mistake podcast guest Melissa Lee. You may remember her from last October. She was on our Poltergeist episode. And you can check out the film Feast at the Atlanta Horror Film Fest this Friday, October 26th, and at the Return of the 50-Foot Film Fest next Tuesday, October 30th at the Plaza Theater. You can follow Feast at Feast Short Film on Facebook for tickets and more information. Tickets are now on sale for Critical Crop Top's new live sketch show, Critical Crop Top Saves America. Critical Crop Top Saves America stars Brandon Mitchell, Aria Mara, Carlette Jennings, Jasmine Waters, Laura Myers, Brian Ashton Smith, and myself, and it's directed by our co-host, Hillary R. Heath. Critical Crop Top Saves America is playing one weekend only at the Highland and Ballroom on Friday, November 2nd and Sunday, November 4th, and you can get your tickets at criticalcroptop.com/tickets. Thanks for joining us for today's episode. Next week, we are taking the week off to go trick-or-treating, but we'll be back with a brand new episode on November 7th. Continue the conversation with us on social media and find out who our next guest is by following us on Facebook and Instagram at Feminine Mistake Pod and on Twitter at FemMistakePod. If you've got a bad casting breakdown that you would like us to read on this show during our Nervous Breakdown segment, you can send that or any other correspondence to femininemistakepodcast@gmail.com. And happy Halloween!
Oh, didn't see you there. I'm Molly.
And I'm Jen.
And we're Rosemary's Ladies, a podcast where we eat snacks, drink adult beverages, and review movies, the good and the bad. Previous reviews include Deep Blue Sea, Poltergeist, Leprechaun, and 1998's Godzilla. You can tune in on iTunes, Spotify, and most popular podcast apps.
And for Pete's sake, be sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and check us out at rosemariesladies.com, where you can submit movies for us to review.